Brian and Jenny for joining me today in this event, the RCF Speaker Series event. I am very excited to have you join me. And before I turn off the mic to you, I would like to welcome you by sharing a little bit about you so the audience know who you are and what you do. I'll start with you, Jenny. Jenny is a certified business coach specializing in leadership skills development and creation of employee experience. Her educational background is law and psychology, but her passion has always been to help people live better lives while they're at work and outside of work. Jenny is a big supporter of science-based coaching, and she often shares the latest developments in neuroscience during her webinars and training session, which I'm sure she will do today. In her spare time, Jenny is a devoted dog mom, a bit of a bookworm, and a wine lover. It's your turn, Brian. And Brian is a dedicated coach. This is obvious because he is certified as an associate certified coach from the International Coaching Federation. And he also holds a certification from the Coaching Training Institute. Brian has over 20 years of experience providing career transition, career management and leadership, coaching services to clients working in corporations, small and medium-sized businesses, government, and academic organizations. Thank you both for joining me today. And over to you.
Thank you very much, Hoda. It's a pleasure being here. So without further ado, I will start sharing my screen. Let's hope that technology gods on our side and everything works as it's supposed to be. Perfect. Okay, so today we're going to talk how to move forward in the challenging times. And career transition is one of the most challenging times in our lives. And today we're going to touch upon a few topics. One, we're going to set a foundation, basically to talk about why we feel so anxious when we transition in career and looking for a new job. Brian will take us through the specific techniques that we all can apply. I will share a little personal story because I had done 3 career transitions in my life so far. Hopefully this is the last one. And then Brian and I prepared a coaching session, a short coaching session that can show you what kind of questions to ask your clients or even to yourself, right? And then we will open the floor for the Q&A. Oh, sorry. So let's start with the beginning, right? As no house can stand tall for many, many years without a good foundation. We don't want to jump to solutions without bringing up what is it that makes us so anxious and creates this problem. So career transition are very popular right now, right? We're reading about quiet quitting and massive resignations. So if you are in career transition, you're looking for a new job, or you had a break in your career and you're looking to restart it, you're not alone. As you can see, 52 to 65% of employees are right now considering a job change. And half of them actually having a plan in place. So they already have a place to go. They already have a new place. So with everybody basically that you know doing this and so many things written and said about it, and probably you done some career transitions in your life. So why is it still so anxiety inducing? Why is it still so hard? And who we need to blame for that? Our brain, actually. So we don't need to go any further. So biologically speaking, the main purpose of our brain is to keep the brain holder, so our body, the human being, safe. And the more predictable situation is, the happier our brain, because it knows what kind of behavior to start so we can keep safe. With uncertainty and unknown that career transition brings, when we do not depend solely on our own decisions and behavior, we depend on other people, this uncertainty is too much to handle for our brain. It wants to know the answers, and when it can't produce the answers, can't predict the answers, it evokes this very famous fight or flight reaction. But basically, that we are very stressed, we anxious, and we looking for dangers everywhere. So there's no tigers anywhere in the bushes around where we live. This not in my area, but um, our brain didn't change much. So we still looking for these dangers, and we still being very, very anxious. So when we looking for a new job, looking for a career transition, what do we feel? How does it come to life? So first of all, we start imagining the worst case scenario right away. So we will fail the interview. No one will invite us to interview. We don't have good skills. We forgot everything. We go into the worst of the worst. That's a very human reaction. The next one, we suffer from an anxiety that induced by lack of control. As I mentioned, career transition, we depend on the market, right? The business development, the situation around other people. So we don't have a full control of our future, and it's very scary and very stressful. Also, we fear the unknown. As I mentioned, our brain wants to know all the answers, and we don't really fear what's going to happen, but we fear that we don't know what's going to happen. And the last one, all of it together is making us incredibly exhausted, cognitively exhausted. I always think that looking for a job, it's a job on itself. It takes time, patience, and a lot of energy. So how do we deal with it? How are we going through that and still stay sane? So, first of all, I would like to mention that having a positive mindset doesn't mean that we have to stay happy and smiling 24/7. If that's the case, I feel we need to schedule appointments with a psychiatrist. We can't be happy 24/7. We need to take life seriously once in a while. So I don't want to talk about positive mindset. I would say I would want to talk about powerful mindset. So first of all, the change in the mindset has to happen, and we need to let ourselves to feel what we feel. If we feel tired, exhausted, disappointed, and anxious, it doesn't mean that something wrong with us, that we are not strong enough. Our feelings are just the reaction on what is going on. It's triggered by the events of our life. So there's nothing wrong with you if you feel tired or scared or anxious about career transition. Next change in the mindset is we need to accept the mess. And for people like me who love plan A, B, C, and D, and love to-do lists, and love everything going according to plan, it was a mindset change for me as well, that nothing in life goes according to plan 100%, even if you're the most meticulous person on the planet. So accepting the fact that we will make mistakes, we will screw up, that something is not going to go according to plan. We just need to accept that and let it go. And don't spend our energy to trying to get us back on track, but probably we need to spend more energy in thinking how we pivot from now on. The next change in the mindset is trust your gut. And that's where my love of neuroscience coming to play, that it was discovered quite some time ago that we don't have one brain. We have three. On the top of our traditional brain in our head, we have two more. One is in our heart and one is in our gut. So what is brain? Brain basically, we don't have little brains in every organ. So the brain is the connection of many neurons together that can precede information and cause us to react to that. That's what brain is. So scientists discovered that we have exactly the same thing in our heart, that when we saying think with your heart, we actually not so far from, it's not just an expression. We really have the brain and the heart. And exactly same thing in our gut. The main difference between heart and the gut brain, that our main one is trying to be very logical. It's trying to adapt to social environment when our heart and gut brain, they're just reacting. So if you have this sickening feeling in your gut when you're sitting at the interview and you're not liking anything that you hear, and it's on the paper, it's the perfect place to work at, but your gut is telling you run, I would say trust your gut. It means that you're sensing something that you can't pinpoint, but your gut knows the best. And it can be the opposite, right? So everybody's saying, you're crazy. This work is not for you. This place is not good enough. But your gut is saying, I love everything about it. Follow your gut. I accepted this many, many years ago, and actually my gut so far served me very well. And the last one is that we always have a choice. Even in the toughest situations, then we losing any control and any hope, we always have a choice to react as stressful and anxious and tired human beings, or we can react with hope and positivity and agility. And I always love to bring this quote up, and it's from Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and the author of the very popular book Man's Search for Meaning. He said that everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Think about for a second. So he's saying that even in the toughest of circumstances, we always can choose how to behave next minute. And I truly believe in that. So that was kind of why the explanation why we still feel anxious, even we experience career transition in our life, or people we know did the same thing. And I would like to invite Brian to share some specific techniques. It's good to be inspired, right? And understanding why we get anxious, but we really need to know. So tomorrow morning, I'm waking up. What am I doing? So, Brian, would you like to take it from here?
Sure. Thank you very much, Jenny and Hoda. And so what I would like to talk about a little bit is talking about networking. And if anybody knows, to conduct a really good, effective work search, networking is a very important part of conducting that work search. A lot of times in the past, when I first started to look for jobs in the past, I thought, oh, I'm just going to send out as many resumes as possible. And the more resumes I send out, the better chance of getting a new opportunity. And if you look on any website these days, it will show you any website that talks about what are the best ways to find jobs. It will be anywhere from 60 to 85%, depending upon the website that you look at, that networking is so important. And networking is not only important in looking for a job when you're looking for a job, but it's important throughout your whole career. So when you do land, keeping that network. So focusing on having that network for the future, because that's going to help for your own professional development, your own growth, and your own when you want to look for a new opportunity in the future. Some of the most successful people get their opportunities not just from Eluda or Indeed or other websites. They get them from their own contacts, their own network, and building that and growing their network. And I think it's important that when we're looking for a job and we're networking, that we keep on talking to people, as I've mentioned, people in our own network, people that are our family, our friends, people in our community, people in our own professional group. We want to be able to seek and share information. So it's not just, some people have come to me as clients and they say, well, Brian, I don't want to bother people, but it's not bothering people if you can share information with them, because people are working in their jobs, and if they have someone like you that may be able to have some information to share, they're benefiting from it too. So if you can look at it, it's a mutual benefit of when you're networking. it needs to be ongoing. As I've mentioned before, it's not just, okay, I'll find my job and then I'll go back to being a hibernating again and I don't need to reach out to anybody. It's important that we keep on talking to other people. And again, as I've mentioned, it's a reciprocal relationship because you're benefiting from them and they're benefiting from you of the information that you're sharing and they're sharing with you. So what are the goals of networking? What can I get from it, or what can anybody get from it? It's to obtain advice, information that people might have to share, information about what's going on in their career, what's going on in their company, where's their growth in the industry, what other suggestions that people might have for you as you're developing your career path or figuring out where your next role is going to be. And by talking to different people, you'll understand what are the current trends and the needs and the market opportunities. Possibly that could be a question in your next interview. So by in doing your network, you'll be able to find out about the trends and the needs and the opportunities and be able to share that in your interview. Understand how your expertise can help, and you'll find that out. Yes, you can go online and you can look at things, but what better way than to speak to people who are actually working in your field and in your industry or in similar industries, where your expertise can be helpful. And then you can also know where about your objectives and your targets. Like, am I on target to look for a job in this industry? Is there really growth in this industry? So you will be validating it by talking to different people if you're on the right career path. And by talking to different people, getting involved in associations or organizations and volunteering and meeting with people, you increase your visibility. And when you increase your visibility, people are more likely to say, you know, I think I want to hire this person, or this person may be able to help with the work that we need for our organization. So that's so important. You know, a lot of people sometimes say to me, and they say, Brian, but I don't really feel comfortable to do networking. This is not who I am. Just like anything, the first time you try it, it can be a little bit, make one a little bit anxious. But like, I always remember I had a client a few years ago and she said, Brian, I'll never be able to do networking. So we broke it down into small parts and how she could go about doing it, making the telephone call or emailing the person, and then what she could say in the meeting and how she could go about doing it. And after the first meeting, she actually said to me, Brian, I know I was a little nervous and I know didn't want to do this for anything in the world, but once I did it, it was okay. And it's the more I did it, more I do it, it's becoming a habit. It becomes easier. And I think the same thing for all of us. The first time we do it, it's difficult, but if you can make it a habit, even when you're working, make it in your habit when you're working, just have one meeting maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. When you're looking for a new role, maybe do more networking and try to increase the number of people that you're talking to, and it will become a good habit to keep for now and in the future. So things to keep in mind when you're having networking meetings with people is know a little bit about them and find out about their background. See what you might have in common with them, what you love and what they love. Is there any commonalities where you did your education, or as I heard at the very beginning, Jenny likes pets. Maybe if Jenny's having a meeting, she'll find if anyone else likes pets or other hobbies or interests that they might have. So yes, it can be about work and professionalism, but it's also developing that rapport, that closeness with each other. So you'll want to talk to that person. Ask questions about their true passion, what they like to do, what's important to them. And listen more than you speak, and stay curious and genuine. I mean, a lot of us we can speak really well, but if you ask questions, people want that opportunity to share information about himself or herself. So that's really, really important. This is important for building relationships in both your personal lives and in your professional lives. And It's a quote by the famous or the Prime Minister Winston Churchill. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. So yes, you may be networking or meeting other people, and you may be thinking, okay, what am I going to get out of this? But it's what you give. You will feel good about yourself when you give to other people. And it will, that mutual relationship, that helping each other, you're getting something and you're giving something. It's so important for your own professional development, your personal development, and the idea of doing some networking. Think about what you are giving as well as what you might be able to get. So I think the key thing is when you're doing anything in the work search is keep an open mind. We all come in from different professions and work and backgrounds, but keep an open mind what you might learn from it. It's not about just about you. It's about being genuine and sincere and learning from other people. Be curious. You're on a journey to discover. Everyone has a story to tell, so be genuinely curious about what the other person has to say. And I think people that are more curious in this world will often do better because they're interested in learning about other people, and that will help for their own career and their own lives. Ask questions. I happen to be a person who asks a lot of questions, but if you're a person who is very, very shy, just think about if I can ask even 1 or 2 questions, what I can do to try to understand where the other person is. Keep on thinking about what can I give, and what can I give that will be helpful for them. And so always think what I can do, because often we feel good about giving and helping other people. We will feel good about this, as I referred a little earlier in the quote by Winston Churchill, the importance of giving. And follow up. Be known as a person of your word. If you tell a person that you're going to do something, do it. And keep in contact with that person. Maybe if you see an article or something that person will benefit from it, keep in touch with that person and follow up and try to keep that relationship ongoing. And I think it's really important that when we're going through our work search, that, sometimes people think, oh, well, I'm just going to focus on my work search. And until I get my job, I'm not going to do anything else in my life. And I think we really help ourselves if we try to keep other things going for our own mental health and our physical health. So keep in touch with your favorite people, the people that you really enjoy talking to. Be kind to yourself, whether or not that's, I don't want to be too tough on myself that I'm not getting a job right away. Honor yourself what you did do today. Did I make a few phone calls? Did I email? Did I prepare my resume? So be kind to yourself. We're our worst critics, and sometimes we need to take time just to acknowledge what we did do and appreciate what we did do. And don't forget about the downtime. Whether or not whatever it's important to you in your life, taking the dog for a walk or going exercise or going for just a walk by yourself or just lying down and just relaxing. But we all need time to relax and to take some time away from the stresses of whether it's work or looking for a job or whatever it is. So be good to ourselves. I think one of the things that a lot of people have said to me when they're looking for a job, the hardest thing is that they miss the routine. They miss the routine of going to work and seeing their colleagues or doing their work from whatever time to whatever time it is on a day-to-day basis. So make your own routine. Is it like, do you work at your home desk and set up a time, use your time, if it's a calendar, an Outlook calendar, make a schedule for yourself, make time for yourself to go out to do the things that you want to do, or just like you do at the day-to-day, have a schedule, what you need to do that when you're looking for a job as well. Have a daily routine. And don't stop doing things that are important to you. As I mentioned before, we need to try to keep a balance in our lives, in what's important to us when whatever is important to us. Of course, it's important to find a new job, but if you like exercise, if you like going for a walk, if you like music, whatever is important to you, this is what's going to help you in terms of finding a job, because it's going to help your own feeling good about yourself mentally and physically. So don't stop doing things that are important to you.
So as Oda mentioned, I lived and worked in a few countries, and I have a few educational background, one in law, one in psychology, and one in coaching. So I did my fair share of career transitions, and I would like to share 3 lessons that I've learned so far from doing that. So lesson number 1 would be the fact that when I moved to every next country, people didn't know me. If I was considering myself as a knowledgeable and experienced and very good employee, they didn't know me. They didn't trust me, frankly, and it was hard to accept that I needed to earn their trust again and prove myself again and again. But that's the price that you pay when you transition, whether it's to different countries or just different organizations or different fields that you want to transition your career to. You need to prove yourself from the start. It can be frustrating sometimes and tiring, but that's the price we're paying for the opportunities that will come with the new career, new transition. The lesson number 2 would be to have your own safety net. You know, we can't do it all alone. It's impossible. And having people around you who know you well, who want to support you, who seen your highest and lowest and still stayed with you, still care for you, have this safety net is extremely important. It doesn't have to be 20 people. It can be only 1 or 2 close friends or your family members, but leaning on them and allowing them to help you and to, cheer you up sometimes when you don't feel like that. It's very important to have these people and most importantly, to let them help you, to accept their help. And the lesson number 3 would be new transition, new career, new job starts with a lot of questions, right? Starts with a lot of unknown things we don't know. For example, when I opened my coaching practice, I knew a lot of things about coaching, but I knew nothing about having a business, having my own practice. I was lost and overwhelmed, and at some point was questioning myself, have I made the right decision to leave the corporate world and become the coach and become a business owner? So I found a mentor, a person who already done it successfully, and who was willing to share their experience, share their knowledge and wisdom with me. And after that, when I got enough information, enough practice, enough experience, I went on and found a coach. So the difference between mentor and a coach is that mentor basically shares the information, share the experience, but it's up to mentee. It was up to me whether to follow this information, whether to absorb and use it. In the coaching relationship, coach is not sharing coach's experience. Coach only asks questions from the coachee and trying to elicit the knowledge and wisdom and confidence from the coachee. And you can have both mentor and coach simultaneously. You can have first mentor who helps you to transition to new fields, and then a coach that is helping you to get better and develop and build a new goal. And actually today, Brian and I, we pre-recorded a short 5-minute coaching session demonstrating how it might look like. So let me turn the recording on.
So what would you like to focus on today for today's session?
So I've decided to change a little bit my marketing strategy as a business owner and create a monthly newsletter. I know the principle of a newsletter is very old. It's new for me. I never used it before. So that is something that's new to me. I'm a little bit kind of scared, and that's what I would like to talk through with you.
Okay, and I think we can do exactly that over our session today. Just before we get into that, what would you like to, what would be reasonable or you would hope to have accomplished by the end of today's session to say, hey, you know what? The session that Brian and Jenny had today was a worthwhile session. We got done what we had hoped for today.
Yeah, good question. So I think to set realistic expectations, I would say I would love to be 50% less scared. That would be good enough.
50% less scared. Well, I think that's a good goal that we can shoot for. And maybe you can tell me, let's delve right into that. What's making you scared right now?
So, first of all, because it's something new, right?
Okay.
I've never done this before. I don't know, will I be good at that or not very much? So this unknown factor is kind of, scaring me a little bit. I also a little concerned. I don't know how people would react if I'm sending them an invitation to subscribe for my newsletter. I guess it's this imposter syndrome is asking me, do you really have something to say that people have to listen, that they would be willing to read and understand? So that's this. And probably all the technical aspects, because I've never done this before. Will I be able to handle all these subscriptions and, so it will look nice and with read writes and every links are working. So that's quite a lot.
So Jenny, I first of all want to acknowledge that you're taking the step to do the actual letter or getting it out, because that must have been a big step that you've taken to do this.
It
So
was.
so you've obviously got past some of that fear already by doing that. Or am I right? Or
I guess, as I always say, brave person, it's not the one who is not scared, it's the one who does something even when they scared.
okay.
So I'm just doing it, right? I'm taking some steps. Um, yeah, so I guess I'm handling it some way. It's not paralyzing me. That's good.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because as you were talking a little while ago, you said, I'm wondering if people, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't have your exact wording, but I'm wondering if people are going to be interested or going to want to read it, or they're going to think they're going to get anything out of it. And maybe you could tell me more, what's that about? Because if I know your background, Jenny, you have an amazing background, extraordinary education, extraordinary experience. You have a lot to say, and I'm just wondering what's that all about that you're kind of questioning that right now.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I guess a few things. First of all, I wasn't born in Canada, right? It's obvious with my accent. And my learning English, it's my everyday journey for the last 14 years, right? I did speak before I came to Canada and I could understand like half of what people were saying. I'm better now. I accept that. But it's still a journey that probably will never end.
Mm-hmm.
So this being a woman and an immigrant and a business owner all in once, kind of makes how good am I, how polished my English, right? How well I get convey my message that I want to people to get it.
Okay, so to kind of sum up for this week, we just started the process of talking about your newsletter. It sounds like you're starting to reflect on some things that
are important to you, and or
Mhm.
you're kind of appreciating what you have to offer, where could you take this for the next week until we have our next meeting? What would be a good place for you to reflect or consider in the development or delivery of your own mindset of a letter? What would be a good thing for you to work on?
So I would say that I need to accept the fact that I will still have my doubts, probably like some ups and downs on the way, and it's just the way it is, right? So I probably need to understand and convince myself that keep having your doubts, but keep doing the thing that you want to do.
Thank you both for joining me today and putting this amazing presentation going above and beyond what I usually request for RCF speaker events. I really appreciate your time putting it together. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and for giving us these quotes that I feel are very important. Both quotes are important for really handling career transition, the tough situation that many people go through. I do have a couple questions from the audience that I would like to pose to you, and Jenny and Brian, you guys can choose who's gonna respond to it. I know, Brian, you talked a little bit about networking, but I guess when clients come to work with you, the question is, how can you help your client get over their aversion to networking? How do you help them through it, I guess?
I think you unmute, Brian.
One of the things I thought I was going to avoid this whole time is not to put myself on mute, but I did. So I've had many people that have come to talk to me, and they're feeling very anxious and nervous about doing networking. And I've indicated, I referred to that other lady that came to me before, who was said, this is not something I would want to do or I can do. I think it's, we spend a lot of time talking about and breaking it down and what's happening in their mind, or what are they feeling nervous about. And then to talk about how step by step to go doing the networking. I think if you just say the word networking has a maybe a connotation to many people, and it makes people nervous. Maybe we need to call it just meeting with people, getting information, going out and talking to people. I often use the analogy of to people, I mean, can you go to the library and ask the librarian for some information? And they all say, yeah, that's no problem. So I look at it the same way. If you want to go and talk to people, get some information, build your relationship, and get some, just like you would with a librarian, you can do this so-called networking. And you can, if you break it down and say, okay, what am I going to say in my email to this person? Then you know, a coach can help you. What can I say when I contact and have the first meeting? What can we do? I think the more we break it down, will make it easier for that person. And I don't know if Jenny, if you have anything to add to that.
Maybe I can share what I experienced when I came to Canada. I was looking for a job. So at first, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to networking event. I have to get out of it with at least 5 interviews on my schedule. No, I was so mistaken. And of course, I get no interviews on my schedule after networking events, and I was so disappointed in myself. What did I do wrong? But then I understood that if my goal would be to meet one person, speak with one person, have a meaningful, at least 10, 15 minutes conversation, and maybe exchange email addresses, right, or LinkedIn accounts, that would be a win. Now I know one more person that I knew before. And it took this pressure off my shoulders, and it adjusted my expectations to where it probably needs to be. And this anxiety and the fear of going to this networking event, I can, as Brian said, I can talk to one librarian, right? That's not a problem. So I can speak with one person at the networking event. And then it became easier. Maybe it's 2 people, or maybe it's 3, or maybe it's a whole table, right? To do something that people will pay attention. but that came with time and experience.
I appreciate you sharing your story, Jenny. That's a great idea to share our personal stories. And Brian, your library example is fabulous, really, because if I can go and ask a question from a librarian, why can't I ask someone who is an expert a question? That's a great example. I do have another question for you guys. I hope you're okay with that.
Sure.
What can you do if your client can't really identify the goal for the session? So a client comes to you and they cannot identify why they came to you for that day. Like, what do they want to accomplish by talking to you? Or they cannot pinpoint the problem they want to focus on, but they need your help.
Mm-hmm. I probably can take this one to start. And actually, it's happening more often than you would think, because you'd think that if people came to career coach, so they know why. Actually, they don't. They have a big idea. I want a new job, right? Or I hate my career right now. I want to change. That's a great inspiration, but it's far from being a goal, right? And when I started asking, so okay, where do we want to focus? I don't know, everywhere, right? And so the most important thing would be to say, oh, that's okay that you don't know. You don't have to have it written, right? All the exact words, and no, that's exactly what coaching session is for, to figure it out. So that would be first thing, to say that that's okay. That's what we're doing here. And also start with questions about the person. Forget about the goal. Let's focus on the person. So questions like, what are your passions, usual passions? So what if you don't need to go to work for money? What would you be doing? What is giving you the biggest joy in your life? Or what frustrates you the most, right? So start learning about the person themselves. And as Brian and you would have mentioned, people love talking about themselves. We love the stage, right? Especially if someone's listening, that's even better. So, and the advisor, the coach role here would be really listening and get those words and information, bits and pieces of information that person says many times. It means that something is on their mind. And then you can say, I heard you saying that you're very bored at your work right now, that you're looking for a challenge. So how this challenge would look like? Is it something the same area you do right now? Or you wanna, I don't know, your challenge would be to learn how to play guitar and join the band. Or your challenge would be to get the next step to your organizational hierarchy. So, and by asking this narrowing question slowly, we're creating this clarity. And another suggestion is, it might not happen in the first meeting. We rarely will have a concrete goal and a solid plan for the next 3 years after one conversation only. That's an unrealistic expectation. So I always invite at the end of the conversation to ask, so remember yourself at the beginning of the hour and right now. Do you have more clarity? How your mind shifted? And people would probably realize, oh, now I know much more about myself. And I verbalized much more. So although I don't have an exact answer yet, what is my goal? But I have much more clarity what direction to think. And that's a win on its own. Brian, do you have something to add from your experience?
Well, I love how you talked about passions. I would just add to this, I always like people to visualize where they want to be. What do they want in their lives? You know, do they enjoy the outdoors, or do they enjoy working in an office, as a simple example? Or do they like working with people, or they want to work from home, or what kind of things that they want to work at? Visualize. I often talk about visualize even when you go for an interview, a job interview, but visualize how you want to be What do you see the picture, make a picture for yourself, and what do you want to look like in that picture? What are you doing in that picture? What's important to you to be doing in the job that you're doing? So I think that goes along with your passions, is to start getting people, and again, it may not happen all in the first meeting. It may take over a few meetings to do that, but eventually getting people to start thinking and dreaming, because people are doing their work on a day-to-day basis, and I can do this work and get it done, but I want them to eventually see the vision that they have for themselves for now and into the future.
And that's a great goal in of itself, right? To get them started and lead them there eventually, but they probably won't realize it until they move through the steps with a coach.
Exactly.
Well, I'm looking at the time and we are almost out of time. So I want to give each of you 30 seconds, a minute opportunity to wrap up this event and get us wrapping it up.
I can
Jenny,
start?
yeah.
Okay. So I would say that career transition is scary. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be anxious. And it's okay to, even lose hope once in a while. Like, oh, nothing is going as I wanted to. But then just give yourself time to relax, to rest, to put yourself back together, do something that brings you joy, something familiar, and next morning start again.
Brian, would you like to add something to wrap it up?
I would like to suggest to people to look at this as an opportunity, because a lot of us have, we're working at our jobs and we're getting our jobs done. And sometimes when we go through a change like this, it can be overwhelming, as Jenny's already implied, but it can be a new opportunity to do something in the next stage of our life that could be really interesting and exciting. It may seem a little challenging at first, but if you can see that this could be something that I really want to do and work towards, and I put it aside in the past. Now is an opportunity to get where I really want to be in the next stage of my life.
Very valuable tips from both of you, Jenny and Brian. Thanks again for joining me, and I look forward to other collaborations soon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much for having us.
Thank you, Hoda.